When people talk about the best Five Nights at Freddy's game, most people point to FNAF 1. Some say FNAF 2 because of the chaos. Others say Sister Location because of the story. But there's one game that completely changed the formula of the series. Five Nights at Freddy's 4. No security cameras, no office, no doors to hide behind, just you, a bedroom, and monsters hiding in the dark. Today, I'm going to argue that FNAF 4 might actually be the best game in the entire series. FNAF 4 is easily the scariest game in the entire franchise. Earlier games relied on tension from resource management, but FNAF 4 does something different. It forces you to listen. Instead of watching cameras, you're standing in the middle of a dark bedroom, walking up to doorways and trying to hear something in the hallway. And if you listen closely, sometimes you can hear breathing. If you hear breathing and close the door fast enough, you survive. If you don't, you die. That mechanic alone makes FNAF 4 way more intense than the earlier games, because now the fear isn't just visual, it's psychological. Another reason FNAF 4 stands out is the nightmare animatronics. These are easily the most disturbing designs in the entire series. Instead of the normal animatronics, you get these twisted versions of them. Nightmare Freddy, Nightmare Bonnie, Nightmare Chica, and Nightmare Foxy. They look less like robots and something more out of a nightmare. Sharp teeth, broken metal, dark glowing eyes. They're not just creepy, they feel unnatural, which makes every encounter with them way more terrifying. But the real genius of FNAF 4 is the sound design. In most horror games you rely on what you can see, but FNAF 4 forces you to rely on what you hear. The entire game revolves around tiny audio cues. Footsteps, breathing, the sound of something moving down the hallway. And the crazy part is, you're constantly second guessing yourself. Did you actually hear breathing? Or was that just the ambient sound? That uncertainty creates some of the most stressful gameplay in the entire franchise. FNAF 4 also removes something that defined the earlier games. The cameras. In FNAF 1, 2, and 3, you could check cameras to see where the animatronics were. But in FNAF 4, you're blind. You have to walk up to doors, shine your flashlight into pitch black hallways, and hope you see nothing. Because if you see something moving towards you, it's already too late. This makes every second of the game feel dangerous. There's nowhere to hide, nowhere to sit and watch. You're constantly moving, constantly checking, and constantly listening. But the biggest reason FNAF 4 is so important to the series is the story. For the first time, we see events connected to the Bite of 83. The game follows a crying child who is terrified of the animatronics. Throughout the minigames, we see him being bullied by his older brother and his friends. They scare him with Freddy masks, lock him in rooms, and eventually, they take things too far. In the final scene, they place his head inside Fredbear's mouth as a prank. And when the animatronic closes its jaw, the child is crushed. This moment became one of the most important events in the entire FNAF timeline, because it explains the origin of many mysteries in the series, and it adds something the earlier games didn't have: tragedy. FNAF 4 isn't just a horror game. It's a story about fear, guilt, and consequences. And then there's the final nights, where everything escalates with Nightmare Fredbear. Fredbear is one of the most aggressive enemies in the series. He appears everywhere. Closets, doors, on the bed. There's almost no safe place in the room. And then comes Nightmare, a character so dark he almost blends into the environment, just glowing teeth and eyes in the darkness. This fight pushes the game to its absolute limit, and it's one of the hardest nights in the entire franchise. Now, some people argue that FNAF 4 is too confusing. The mechanics are harder to understand, the lore is complicated, and the gameplay can feel brutal, but that difficulty is part of what makes the game memorable. FNAF 4 demands your full attention. You can't relax, you can't look away, and when you finally survive a night, it feels like a real accomplishment. FNAF 4 changed the formula of the series. It removed cameras, focused on sound, introduced the nightmare animatronics, and delivered one of the most important moments in the entire story. Because of that, it might actually be the most complete horror experience in the franchise. But I want to know what you think. Is FNAF 4 the best game in the series? Or does another game deserve the crown? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe, because there's a lot more FNAF content coming soon, and one of those takes might be even more controversial. I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye-bye.